Testing. There you go. All right, I'm on now. Okay, let me share with you about our prayer time. On the table is a prayer sheet. Okay, listing everyone that we know of in the church office. So I want you to pick a person at the table who's going to lead that table in prayer. Okay, you got about 30 seconds to do that. Pick a person on the table who's going to lead that table in prayer. Okay? The prayer list, right here. Right here's the prayer list, okay? Someone call the names out and have a prayer, and I'll call time on that on our schedule because we've got a tight schedule. So start doing that right now. Have a prayer for those at your table, okay? You can't eat and pray at the same time now.
You want to sit down? I have the choice.
Okay, you go ahead and do that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I can see that all of you are through. Each table is through, so let me share with you about our presentation for Thailand. First of all, on the table you will see a little brochure. That's our child sponsorship brochure on the table, a little small brochure, and that's some of our team members that are sponsoring those children. If you'd like to sponsor a child, you can contact me. Then we have our daily activities for our team brochure, the larger brochure, which shows everything we did every day, most everything we did. Some things I couldn't put in the brochure. But anyway, most everything we did is on there. And then you have on the table behind me some candy and dried fruit available. If you'd like to pick one of each, that'd be fine. Encourage you to do that. And then also the middle table is items made by the women prisoners in Thailand, and we were able to visit a couple of those stores and see those activities going on. So we're going to start our team presentation, and Michael is going to go first, and then following that is Jeb, and then Callie, Harry, Candace, John, Judy, and I'll close with prayer.
Oh, wow. Here we are again talking about our ministry in Thailand. And this time, there were several new experiences I had. I'll tell you about one of them. The first men's prison that we visited, I can't think, is that the one we visited? No, what's the first men's prison? Chiang Mai. Men's prison. So we walk in, and we heard the sound of singing as we're heading toward this huge place, gathering place. They were singing in Thai. And then, we enter, we're seated, we get announced, and they introduce us, and we get up to play. So John had an acoustic, I had an acoustic. I look, and there's drums there, there's a bass there, and I thought, oh, and microphones. I thought, this is really good. Okay. So the ensemble God put together was amazing. Just spur of the moment here. Pastor Suradet, pastor at Hot Springs Church in the children's home there, said, I can play bass. So he picked up the bass and played along with us. And then one of the prisoners who had previously been playing, he must have had a side conversation. So all of a sudden I look, and there's the prisoner that was playing, walking back to the acoustic drums. Oh, that's the ensemble we had. These Americans trying to sing in Thai, and a pastor and children's home director there, Pastor Suradet, and a prisoner. That was the ensemble God put together to lift up worship that day when we started our time together. So I just want to thank God for bringing together all sorts of people together to create a great ensemble for praise. Isn't that just like the church, right? We different backgrounds. God brought us through different things, but we came together and we worshiped God as one. It was a beautiful moment. So I'm going to attempt to sing in Thai, and John's going to attempt to play in Thai. And we did this song many times. Usually we had Learn or someone else singing with us. And, of course, Callie would be singing with us today if she could. I tell you, she's really good at that, though. So this is Our God. I'll sing just a little bit in Thai, and if you know it in the Thai, sing along. Prayom some kwan masachan Mud mai sakon pon yun yai Cha plu dai plia Mun pra om Ki dat mud mon son pinta Prawam tien prang ton tung lai Cha plu dai plia Mun prom. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. God, you are healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Water you turned into wine, Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. And here's the tie. Prawum sum kim kan, yin yak kwai sing nai. Prawum tum nu tuk tuk kun tu pudai. Prawum pram raksa, sum plim durita prachao. Kong rao. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. God, you are healer, awesome in power, our God, our God. I just have one more thing to say. This was my first time playing with John on a regular basis, and I just absolutely loved how he just picked it up and just how God used him. You played in prisons, children's homes. Appreciate you.
Hey everybody, I'm the new guy here. Usually I'm not able to make these because I'm at work, but when Pastor Mac asks something, we make it happen, right? So, my name is Jeb, for those of you who don't know me. My wife Candace. John is our son. Callie's not here, she's sick. But we were blessed with the opportunity to serve and go on this Thailand mission trip this year, and it truly was a blessing, truly is a blessing. It's continuing to bless us, and I think will for many years to come. We're truly grateful and forever changed by this experience. Pastor Mac and Judy are the most gracious and capable mission trip leaders we could ever hope for, and I think a lot of us know that, right? No one could have prepared us for all the experiences and subsequent emotions that were to come on this trip. When we arrived in Chiang Mai, we met a very special person that I would like to tell you about. His name is Dome, and he was one of our interpreters while we were in Chiang Mai. Dome was a successful business owner who was deceived by a friend and ended up in jail. After serving out his sentence, he went to live at the House of Blessing, who we support. He now serves as one of the staff members and has many duties that are integral to the ministry there. Dome is the model of Christian behavior. I wish he could be here for y'all to meet him. He is fantastic. Whenever complimented, he points up and gives God the glory every single time. It's amazing. Whenever he sees someone in need, he immediately acts to fulfill that need. He does not harbor any ill feelings regarding his incarceration. When acting as a translator, he completely embodies the sentiment of the translation. It's a thing of beauty to see and to hear. He brings sincere emotion through his translating. We all thoroughly enjoy listening to Dome translate personal testimonies and the gospel message. We could see the audience connecting with the message that he was relaying to them everywhere we went. As I got to know Dome, I saw what a godly man he is. He does not have a family or a home of his own, yet he is perfectly content with his life. The House of Blessing is his home, and the people there are his family. He is focused on all of the right things. He has fully surrendered his life to Christ, and the resulting happiness he has is infectious on those around him. Truly is. The way he lives his life had a profound impact upon me. I see many areas in my own life that could be improved upon, and I see those because of his Christian witness. He has inspired me to be better. If Dome was here now, he would be pointing up and giving God the glory. This is just one takeaway from the many experiences that we had in Thailand. I want to make it clear that the life Dome has would not have been possible without the ministry of the House of Blessing. I understand now more than ever the importance of contributing to the world missions through our church. In Matthew 28:19, God tells us to go and make disciples of all nations. I want to take this opportunity to thank our church for allowing our family to contribute in this way. To God be the glory.
Yeah, I have 8 minutes since Callie's not here. Jeb did such a fine job, it's going to be hard to follow that. But I need to start with Sawadee Cup. That is the traditional greeting that a man gives to anyone he meets in Thailand. They are the kindest, nicest people, and everyone bows and says, Sawadee Cup. The men say that, and the women say, Sawadee Ka. And so I had to learn to do it, and everybody does it everywhere. I work with adults with disabilities, and I'm a school psychologist by training, and I've spent 54 years working in this field. So I had studied special education that's in the country of Thailand before we went. And in the sophisticated cities such as Bangkok, which has 17.4 million people, it is huge. In big cities, they have services just like America has, but not in the rural areas or the mountains or the villages. So a couple of things I just want to talk about, things that I observed that probably none of the rest of them even noticed. Mac talked about the fellow who was blind in the service on Sunday. That was very touching to see his friend lead him everywhere he went, and it was very obvious he was blind. But I also noticed a man behind him who had a back brace on, and the back brace looked like about 4 ace bandages wrapped around him. They were big, they were yellow, kind of tannish colored, and I wondered if he was going to be baptized, how he could even get down in the vat, because he'd have to move around to get into it. So I went over to him and asked if I could hold the brace for him, and he took it off, and it was just one piece. And he took it off and handed it to me and made his way over and got in there and was baptized and got up and walked back. I don't know how he did it. He was in extreme pain, and you could tell it just watching him. So I noticed that. One of the sweetest things that happened, some of this may be hard to tell, was I was sitting on the steps of the House of Blessing one day, and we had 4 teenagers on the trip, and they were out playing with the children, and a little boy about 4 or 5 years old came up and sat down by me, took my hand and put it around him and leaned against me, and then he leaned in my lap, and then he tried to take a nap, and other children came up on the other side, and they were pulling on me and trying to get attention. He didn't say get away, he didn't bother anybody, he just laid there and stayed there for quite some time. You cannot touch anyone's head. You don't touch hair or heads in Thailand. You just don't do it. You also don't show the bottom of your feet by crossing your legs like we do in America, like you're sitting. I sit that way all the time, and you can't do it because showing the bottom of your foot is also a sign of disrespect. And I had to catch myself. Luckily, I saw Mac and a few others do it occasionally. So. Then one of the young men who worked with us somewhere, he was one of 2 men who traveled around with us on one trip. His name was Bill. I had been told by Dom that Bill had a son with Down syndrome, and didn't know that Bill and his wife both lived at the House of Blessing. This was earlier, I'd learned about it. And so they knew the child had Down syndrome before it was born, and the doctors told them they ought to do something about it because he would be handicapped the rest of his life. They said, no, we'll take what we get, and we'll be happy and love our child. So sure enough, I had seen the child over with Bill and went over there, and then I suddenly didn't see him anywhere, and there was a little boy sitting in a little toy. And so I decided I'd talk to him. Well, he jerked away from me, and no matter what you did, he wouldn't interact in any way. He's a child who appears to have autism. I don't know that. And so I asked about him, and Dom told me that he was left there by his mother and father, who said they couldn't do anything with him and just drove up and dropped him off. But that's probably the best place he could be, because in Bangkok they will have services for him. So then later I met Bill's little boy. He's 7 years old, which surprised me. He's wearing a diaper. He is very primitive, seems to be very severely intellectually disabled. But they said he's in training, and I'm assuming that means he's in special education services somewhere, but he wouldn't have the early services we would have in America. So those are children that I noticed. And then in the Hmong tribe, which is a mountain area, we took 2 hours to drive up the mountain to get there. The Hmong people, I believe, are from China. originally, and they moved to the mountains of this area and Vietnam. I noticed a very strange thing about some of the people. They had very flat foreheads. Not all of them, but half of them had, men and women had very flat foreheads. And I asked a couple of other people, and they said, I haven't noticed, but I sure noticed. And then there was one lady who was probably severely intellectually disabled. As we were giving out the toys to the children, she got up and wanted to come get a toy. And the women tried to hold her back, but she kept pushing. So I just went over to her and gave her a bag, the little toy. That was what I needed to do, all right, because then she wanted them all, and she kept coming back for more. And then we gave out, well, those 10-pound bags of rice, they felt like 20-pound bags. They were heavy, but we were giving bags of rice to everybody, so she came and got a bag of rice, and then she came back and wanted another bag of rice, and another bag of rice. But very common to what we would have here. We have better services for our people. The one thing that I had to learn a hard lesson is the bathrooms in Thailand, unless you're in a big city, only have hoses coming out of the wall and maybe a toilet and no paper anywhere. And so we got to the village at the Hmong village and get ready for the service, and I said, I might better go to the bathroom before we get started. I asked somebody where it was, and they pointed way up high to a little concrete block building. Well, we had already been to another children's home. The bathroom was way up high. Their plumbing isn't designed to carry paper. And bathrooms on the hill, I guess, drains down better. But started up the steps to try to get to this bathroom, and they were cut out with a shovel, and they were about 4 or 5 inches wide. And my size 13 shoe could not walk up those steps. On the 4th step, I fell over and thought, I gotta hang on. I had clay all over me, all over my new pants, and stood up, took another step, fell over again, and finally they sent a guy to grab my arm and pull me up the steps. It was like at least 20 steps, I'd say. But Mac also fell down the steps. So I was afraid to come back down. I didn't know how I was going to come back down, but they called somebody else to come help us get down, and that's how we got down. Don't try to go to the bathroom in those villages. I would just say that the women's prison that we visited, it was the most spectacular thing I have ever seen. The strangest thing that I noticed about everybody there is they all sit on the floor Indian style. Everybody does, everywhere, and they don't wear shoes inside a building. And how they sit there and crochet sitting on the floor and sew and make pocketbooks and make all these hand things they do, they all sit on the floor and work. Unless you're working in the bakery making cookies or cakes and you're standing up doing that. But everybody sat down the whole time. I would say if you ever have an opportunity to go on a mission trip with Mac and Judy Weaver, go. It will change you. It was a wonderful experience. The flight was terrible. Excellent airlines, but just too many hours. I think we probably flew a total of about 25 hours going. Coming back, it was about 20 or 19. But that was sort of hard. The rest of it was a wonderful experience. If I could be there, I'd like to go back again tomorrow. It was a great experience. Thank you, Mac. Thank you, church, for letting us go.
Let's see if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Is that too tall? Good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see you. My name is Candace Massey, and I'm so tickled to be with you today. My husband, Jeb, my son, John, and our dear Callie is homesick. I think she might have the flu, so say a prayer for her. We were up at 3:45 this morning. It's so exciting to share with you all about our amazing trip to Thailand. Pastor Mac asked each of us to think about what we wanted to share today, and I knew immediately what I wanted to talk about. Our child we sponsor, named Peem. In 2017, Pastor Soon Thorne from the House of Blessing visited First Baptist Church. He brought pictures of children living there that needed to be sponsored and told about the wonderful ministry of the House of Blessing and what it provides for these children who are without parents. I immediately felt the Holy Spirit stirring at me to sponsor a child. I was so touched by Pastor Soonthorn's presentation, so I went forward thinking that it was a $100 commitment. I chose Peem for our family because her sweet little face, thank you, honey, spoke to me. Sorry, y'all, I'm having a little bit of trouble. She was 6 years old at the time, and I was so thrilled. And yet, as I read the sponsorship form, once I sat down, I realized that it wasn't a $100 one-time donation. It was $100 a month commitment. Okay? So at the time, we, the Massey family, were financially strapped. We were a single family income, we still are, so that I can stay at home with our children and be a stay-at-home mommy. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So there was no way we could afford $100 a month. But God. In February of 2018, my dear mother Dixie passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. I was completely devastated and shaken by her death. But God, through His grace and mercy, showed us a way through my mother's passing to sponsor our Peem. I was left with some money from my mama that provided the funds to support Peem that year. It was an answer to prayer. And let me tell you, God has provided a way for us financially to support Peem every year since. So, this is the 8th year we've been supporting her. And never in a million years did we think we would ever get to meet her. And look what God has done. He made a way not for just one of the Massey family to go, or two, but all 4 of us to experience this together as a family. And so, our first night at the House of Blessing in Bangkok, the children were all eating together outside when we arrived. I glanced through all their sweet little faces, and there she was. I mouthed to her, "Are you Peem?" She nodded yes. And I immediately went to her and hugged her tightly, trying to contain my excitement and my tears of joy. My dream had come true. Here she was in the flesh, our adopted child, Peem. Callie and John felt as if she were their sister immediately, and it was such a joy to see her over the next several days, playing with her friends and singing and eating and opening the gifts we brought for her, and most importantly, getting baptized. Jeb even assisted Pastor Soonthorn in baptizing our sponsored child. What a miracle and blessing from God that she would be baptized on our family trip to Thailand. This was no coincidence. This was God. We were getting to witness the beautiful care our child was receiving from this amazing place that our church here in Valdosta, Georgia, over 9,000 miles away on the other side of the world, is supporting. My heart could have burst with gratitude. So today, I want to encourage you to support our missions ministry at First Baptist Church. God's word says in Acts 20:35, it's more blessed to give than receive. And this is so true. Please, if you can, would you be willing to sponsor a child today? Believe me, you're making an eternal investment in God's kingdom. I'm so thankful our family, through faith and trust, has been giving to the House of Blessing these years. our lives are forever changed seeing the investment we're making in this precious child of God, our Peem. Thank you.
Wow. Mine won't be half as good as that. I'll try not to get too sappy on you. I'm not a very good public speaker, so you're just going to have to bear with me, and I forgot my notes. But this was truly a fantastic trip. I am so anxious. I'm chomping at the bit to go back. And it might not even have to be to Thailand. It could be to another missions trip, but I'm just so glad that our church has the means to do something, an annual trip to go and minister to these people who need it and how everyone needs it. I want to share one of my favorite experiences with you. We were at the final men's prison we went to in Bangkok, Thailand, and we were giving baptism to the inmates after one of our services. I was playing guitar, and I had Learn alongside with me. He was playing. Awesome guitarist, by the way. And I was overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude to understand how much respect everyone has for each other, and how we were well received by everyone in a country whose 90% religion is Buddhism and 1.2% Christianity. We never got any weird looks. We never got any, nobody told us we were in the wrong for being Christian. And people were willing to accept the gift of salvation. I was playing guitar as we were giving, as they were being baptized, and these two guys come up behind me, and we were singing, "I Have Decided to Follow Jesus," and they walk up behind me, and as I'm on the verge of tears, they come up and start singing behind me. That was the most wonderful experience, I think, in my entire life. I really enjoyed this trip. I can't believe it actually happened. Thank you all so much. I thank Pastor Mac and Ms. Judy for giving me this opportunity to go with them. No better people in the whole world. Thank you all so much.
Very quickly, I will tell you about two experiences that stood out to me. One of the children's homes in Chiang Mai that we've worked with for many years is Pastor Surdeth's home. When we were there 1 year ago, his daughter was a senior in high school. She speaks very good English, and so I was able to talk to Belle a year ago. And I asked her, "What are you going to do when you finish high school this year?" And she said, "I'm planning to go to college in Canada." The family had some connections there, and so she was planning to go to school in Canada. When we got to Pastor Surdet's home this year, I saw Belle, and I went up to her and I said, "Belle, what are you in school? Were you able to work it out to go to the university in Canada. And she said no. She said, I was not able to get an international scholarship, so I could not go. And I said, well, Belle, how about going in Chiang Mai? I said, is that a possibility for you to go to college in Chiang Mai? She said, well, she said, I've looked into it. Well, I knew what she was saying. She was saying, I don't have the money. I didn't get a scholarship, and I do not have the money. So I went and found Pastor Mac, and I said, do we have any money? Can we help Belle go to school? And so he came and he talked to Belle, and bottom line, First Baptist Mission money is sending Belle to the university in Chiang Mai this year. It's not like sending your children to school in America. It's a total of $700, okay? And she was so grateful. Her parents thanked us. And Pastor Suradet always takes us to the airport and does everything he can to help us. And his last words, he just kept saying, thank you, thank you. They were so grateful for this very sharp young lady to have the opportunity to go to school, and that's because of you. And I will close by telling you one other thing. We left the last Sunday we were there at the House of Blessing, and we were loading up the van to go to the airport to come home. And all the children were around the van to see us off, and we saw many of them crying, and then that caused us to cry. And so it was harder leaving, I think, than it's ever been before. But we got to the airport, and Mac got a text after we got checked in from Pastor Soonthorn, and I'd like to read that to you because it touched me. Pastor Soonthorn said to Mac, he says, it's the first time I've seen many kids cry. They are touching of your heart. They love all of you so much. Many of them asked me, when will you come again? I told them next year. They said, too long. However, they love all of you so much. And I just got to say in closing that all of these experiences that you have heard about today and the things that your missions program has been able to do with God's help in Thailand remind me of the words of Jesus in Matthew 25:40. Whatever you do for one of the least of these, you do for me.
Harry said he was going to say one thing that he did not say, so I'm going to say it. We were in worship on Sunday, and one of the little girls that one of our members sponsors, I don't remember who it is, J. Michael sponsors this little girl. But she said thanks to us for what we had meant to them that week. And she started out by saying, thank you, and we appreciate your team. And said, I want to thank Pastor Mac for the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Every year we go, we give them Kentucky Fried Chicken because they never get that, and they have a bowl of rice, put one piece of chicken on top of that rice. And I had a slide, I believe, of all those pieces of chicken. But Candace, Harry left money to buy fried chicken one night. Harry, I think they've already done that. Candace is buying fried chicken for February the 15th for Valentine's Day, and I just got a text from Pastor Soonthorn. He said, do you want to do it just for the children or everyone there? And I said, oh, Candace can afford it. Just do everyone there. So I turned your money in today to pay for that, Candace. And so I just wanted to say one more thing. I love my team, but I just wish Candace could get excited. This is a great group, 60-something people I counted. Would you stand for prayer? Let's have a prayer. Oh, let me remind you, one other thing on the table. On the table is our fish fry list. I invite every one of you to sit at my table on the fish fry on March the 4th. Do not leave here without putting your name on that for my table, okay? Get that and put it on there, and I'd appreciate it. Appreciate any donations you can give us.